Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our newest video, the start of a playthrough for Final Fantasy, specifically the Pixel Remaster version.
That's right, and if we find it fun enough, then we might even go through the whole game or even later installments of the franchise.
And since there are 4 Warriors of Light, we've added our 4th member to complete our team, Ben Shapiro.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
But enough about you. I'm naming myself as the Warrior, the strongest player in the game.
Yeah, me too.
For no particular reason relating to skin color, I'm going to be the Black Mage.
And I'm going to be the healer, the White Mage.
With that, it is time for us to begin the playthrough of Final Fantasy.
I've heard there are a lot of Final Fantasy games. That's kind of weird when the title of the game would mean it's the last game.
Joe, you buffoon, it's not referring to the last adventure the characters will have. It's just part of the title. The other games are generally not connected in story anyway, so it is weird, but since the games have been out for decades, it's not something that should still be confusing.
Okay, calm down. I'm just not familiar with this series. Can one of you explain what we will be doing?
We will be going through the game as long as we are able to, though we'll not necessarily show every moment of the whole adventure. If something important occurs, such as getting a new spell or going through a dungeon, then that will be included. But if we need to stop to heal or grind a lot of enemies for experience, then we'll cut some of it out. This would leave most of the entertaining parts in while cutting out the unnecessary parts.
Also keep in mind, the Pixel Remaster does not include the extra dungeons included in the Dawn of Souls version of the game, and keeps the original magic system where each spell has a certain level and amount it can be cast, compared to later games where it was changed.
That is important to know, but we haven't even mentioned the story that's occurring in front of us now.
The world is going through a rough time, and some people need to fix the world, those people being us. Mainly me, but I suppose you all can help.
The text says, 4 Warriors of Light shall come, not Donald and his friends.
I know, but all of us should be aware I have the best job class, hence why Joe copied me.
I didn't have that many options.
You would have made an excellent thief considering you stole the election from me.
Donald, you know that isn't true. I am not a fan of the way Joe is handling America, but he still won legitimately, even if you don't like it.
That is fake news, and I expected better from you.
If we could actually stop arguing and get back into the game, that would be fantastic. We're about to get past the introduction and move on to the gameplay.
But isn't that what the people are here for? Us to make references towards our real-life events while doing activities that we would not normally do alone, much less together?
The people want us to save the world by restoring the crystals and fighting off the enemies that are all across every continent here.
Somehow I don't think shopping is the first thing we should be doing. We should go to the huge castle we started near and get the king to let us off this island.
I would rather fight them off with a hammer or sword rather than the spare McDonald's hamburger you keep in your pocket.
I suppose you're right. You're just going to throw your dementia pills. And I don't think that will be effective towards the goblins and wolves.
I'm going to be using my magic, so I won't need as many strong weapons, which will come in handy for the bosses and normal enemies that are strong to physical attacks.
I will not be as useful in combat until the later portions of the game when I get my more powerful magic, but I'll be healing all of you when you inevitably come across attacks that would otherwise kill you.
Thanks for the rundown on your roles. I think it's time for us to go to that castle before Joe falls asleep.
Would I've never been more awake to play Dragon Quest in my life?
Just let me get my black magic and I'll be ready to go.
Leave it to Obama to make this about skin color for no reason than to virtue signal and divide us.
I didn't choose to be black, and it's the only magic I can use.
You did choose to be the Black Mage at the beginning of the video.
You know what I meant. I wasn't going to be a red mage that doesn't master any magic, a monk that uses no weapons, thief that only runs away, or a third warrior.
Can we actually pay attention to the king instead of you two arguing about nonsense?
Oh, he's taken the princess. I'm going to save her and sniff her hair as reward for being the knight in shining armor.
Joe, at this point, I think we should just leave her to Garland and let the world suffer if you're going to be doing that to her.
I will cast Faraga on you if you sniff her, and we'll be the 3 Warriors of Light.
Okay, fine. I'll try not to do anything crazy, but no promises.
Actually, if you do, then I can use that against you in my 2024 campaign, so go right ahead.
Don't be giving him that advice, otherwise we'll all be banned from Cornelia forever.
I'm so conflicted on my decisions.
Hey, it's our first battle of the series, and it's all of Joe's legitimate voters.
I had way more than that, like at least 2 more.
You definitely had more than that, although I'm not sure how you managed to when you act like you are.
I'm not acting. This is how I always am.
That is significantly worse. On a less concerning topic, I do want to also mention we are using the Pixel Remaster exclusive functions that allow multiplied experience and gil after each battle to lower the grinding during and in between videos.
I suppose that's okay since it just speeds up the progression as long as it doesn't become too easy.
No, I don't think it will be too easy, but if it does, then that will make the journey even shorter than it already would be.
I would like to mention both myself and Obama have been taken out by these horses.
That just leaves the warriors whom are superior to finish the fight.
I think you mean warrior and inferior poser illegitimate president who sniffs princesses.
That was not what I meant at all, actually.
If Joe and Donald are our last hopes, then the world is doomed.
They might actually pull out a victory if they get lucky enough with the horses missing and causing low damage.
I don't need luck. I have all the skill I need.
Yeah, I do too.
If you look more closely, you just got knocked out, so you have no skill. The superior President Donald Trump has saved the group and obtained the experience he deserves.
I think we should level up a few more times off screen so we don't lose against our fight with Garland. Otherwise, we'd have a repeat, and Donald's ego will increase larger than ever before.
Let's take down this guy.
If we don't get interrupted by a battle right before, at least, that is inconvenient timing.
They might be the only characters dumber than our other warrior here.
Hey, that's me.
Guys, I have a strategy to beat Garland so he doesn't knock us all down. I'm going to distract him with facts and logic while the rest of you commence the attacks.
It's worth a shot. Do what you can to him.
Gladly. Garland, let's say hypothetically you deserve to be alive, which you don't. Each of us is so much more successful than you are. You live alone in a dark, broken down house filled with bats and zombies, while I have an incredibly successful show called Daily Wire, where I am the true alpha male against the liberals. If that wasn't enough to make you feel bad, 3 of the most divisive presidents in decades are here and are all superior, which is saying a lot since one of them cast bomb on Yemen villages, one got impeached twice and lost re-election, and one plans on sniffing the princess we're trying to save.
Ooh, you got him good, and now we get to save the whole world. That was a good game, guys. I can't wait to play the sequels.
Joe, you demented clown, we are not done with the game. We did save the princess, but we still have to restore power to the crystals, which we haven't even started on. All of this was to get the king's subjects to build a bridge to the other continent for us to continue our journey.
We didn't mention it earlier, but this is actually a very small area to travel on. And though it would be better to have the bridge built while we tried to save her, we had to prove our ability first.
That is weird why he wouldn't have built the bridge before all of this happened, but perhaps the new connection can establish trade systems with nearby continents for a more diverse ecosystem.
I was thinking the same thing.
Somehow I doubt that, but if you say so.
We need to leave before Joe gets what he wants with the princess.
She's calling me over. I knew she'd want to give a reward for our troubles.
Relax, she's just giving us a loot, which will no doubt come in handy later on.
I'll be back one day for you, and then it's Joeing time.
I swear we should never be allowed back at this rate.
We should only need to go back here 1 or 2 more times, since there is an item that we can't access until the next video.
How do you know it's in the next video? Are you looking into the future or something?
No, it's this memory I have, kind of like we've already done this before, and this game's events are some time loop or something.
That makes no sense at all. Now I'm confused.
You're saying that like it's not an incredibly common event.
Forget about that. These guys are working fast. I should have hired them to build my wall. It would have been done in a month.
You do realize these characters are not real, and building a wall or a bridge would take far longer than it would in a game released on the NES originally?
What can I say? A man can dream. Joe does it frequently when he falls asleep, as often as he does.
Hey, I am not asleep. I have been paying close attention to our playthrough of Dungeons and Dragons.
Although Joe is terribly wrong like he often is, this game does have elements based off Dungeons and Dragons, so he isn't as wrong as he otherwise would be, which is normally 100% wrong.
Can we stop insulting me and cross the bridge now?
I don't see why we can't do both at the same time.
Donald, I hope all of these enemy encounters exclusively attack you for the entirety of our playthrough.
I do have to wonder, what exactly are these goblins guarding? I also noticed the guards are a distinctly different color than the standard goblins. Is there a hierarchy of goblins where ones with a specific skin color are treated better? That seems like a very racist system, and I am happy to dismantle it by killing all of them equally.
That is a strange solution, but it is effective nonetheless, so I approve.
I wasn't actually asking for your input, but I guess that's good to know anyway.
And now with the goblins eviscerated, we can begin the main journey by crossing the bridge.
This reminds me of a story from my youth. I was crossing the street when I looked at my house in the distance, kind of like this scene here. A car swerved out of the way since I was in the middle of the road, and he hit a pole, crashing the car. He went to the hospital shortly after, and I never saw him again.
Joe, that is a terrible story, has nothing to do with this at all. And you ruined what could have been a wholesome moment for the four of us by telling some morbid story nobody asked for.
We can still probably salvage this. And so their quest began. As the four warriors of light, they felt overwhelmed by the great task destiny had placed before them.
They did not even know the true significance of the 4 crystals they held for Joe's son Hunter to sell for his substance abuse habit.
That's not what it says.
The crystals that once, long ago, held a light that shone before Joe's son Hunter to sell for his substance abuse habit that only I am worried about for some reason.
There is no way this game could have known that would happen.
The time for his rehab had come. The time to cast off the veil of addiction and bring the world once more into sobriety.
That was the worst introduction I've ever heard, and I get the feeling the game didn't really say all of that. I think you changed the words around.
No, I was just reading it as it was. I must have not had my glasses on, so I may have misread a couple words, but it was otherwise spot on.
Now that this scene was entirely ruined by you two, I'll just have to hope everything else that comes after doesn't get tainted by Joe's stories or Donald's inability to read.
Hey, I can read just fine. It's only my glasses being off that caused me to mess up a few words. But I think my interpretation made it more interesting than it already was.
Now that I think about it, I don't think you wear glasses.
He was clearly lying to cover up the fact he wanted to insult your son's substance abuse issues, and it shouldn't have taken you this long to figure that out.
I think it would be best if we all moved on from our predicament and continued with the game. We will be encountering some new enemies, and our goal is to reach the next town, since we'll be able to get some new equipment and magic there.
I can't wait for us to get more magic, so maybe by the final part, Ben will actually be somewhat helpful in combat.
I will admit that while I do have difficulties inflicting damage in fights, I think it is unfair to be against me when I have the unique ability to heal without using items.
Once we get better items, your skills are useless, since we will soon have enough money to buy enough high potions for the whole game, meaning you should have picked a different class.
Then perhaps I won't heal you if you get poisoned or knocked out since you're being like that towards me.
That's fine. I can just use my Phoenix Down or antidote, making your lack of cooperation a non-issue.
Can you two please stop arguing? I just want us to get through the game with our friendship still relatively intact.
This is very relevant to the game. I'm stating facts about how Ben is a useless party member since items replace him entirely. But I should also mention how Joe has nothing unique about him besides being a lower level than me.
It's not my fault you picked the warrior when I was going to already. I can be just as useful as you are.
The only way you'll be useful is if you get knocked out, so we each get more experience individually, making us level up more quickly and leave you in the dust.
I'm going to buy Blizzard so I can get you to chill out.
That's the second worst joke I've heard, the first being Joe's presidency.
I think it's time we all start paying attention to what is happening on the screen, as we are about to lead the way into a battle so we can access a ship. This will allow us to expand our travels and search unknown areas.
Yeah, I suppose you are right. Are there any special strategies we need to employ for this battle?
Besides keeping auto battle on with the basic attacks we have already been using the past several minutes, there's nothing really new. Most of our encounters will be like this admittedly, though some special attention has to be done for the bosses at the end of each dungeon, primarily the ones guarding the crystals.
I suppose you're right. I'm hoping each major encounter won't have so many enemies. I can't handle all 9 of these guys on screen since they outnumber us.
Relax, they're already going down. They don't have the quality of fighters on our side, mainly me. They just have higher quantity, which isn't the best option for them.
Oh yeah, they are done now. We'll be able to sail the seas. I'm so excited to travel the world.
Is there going to be an ice cream shop in the next town? I could really go for some mint chocolate chip right about now.
If it will distract you enough so I don't have to hear your voice for a whole video, then I would be so happy to visit that ice cream shop every chance possible.
Considering how this video is already over 20 minutes long and the future videos probably being around the same length of time, he would likely need to have more than 1 ice cream cone per video, even if he eats it very slowly.
No, it's fine. I can make an ice cream cone last an hour if I try hard enough. I know it starts to melt after less than 10 minutes of holding it, but I am skilled in making it last. It does tend to drip a lot, so I catch it with my hand and put it back into the cone. I usually have to repeat this several times by the end to where it's not even cold anymore. By the 30-minute mark, it is not cold at all. So I put it back in my freezer to get cold. Then I finished that part off.
I was already sick of your useless story back at the bridge, but that one was somehow even worse, and I plan on throwing you overboard once we get on this ship.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree this time. Your stories provide no actual value. And I'm considering having us go along with 3 characters and ignoring the prophecy altogether.
Technically, there's already only 3 warriors of light, if you really think about it.
What's that supposed to mean?
It's just that you're not really light Barak. I knew it was going to come up at some point.
The prophecy calling us the warriors of light is referring to the light we will bring back to the world after the disasters in the introduction, not my skin color.
Did you honestly think he was going to come to that conclusion on his own? This is the same guy who had boxes of documents in the bathroom and stared into the sun during a solar eclipse.
I guess you're right. I was really expecting too much out of him. Thank you for steering me on the right track by lowering my expectations.
Hey, didn't you want to focus on the game earlier? Can we talk about these sharks that shouldn't be out of the water and yet are floating above the ship somehow?
I would like to, but now I get the impression you don't think I should be in the prophecy because of my skin color, and that is a bit distracting.
I would like to apologize for my statement. I was only bringing it up in a comedic manner, but now I can see it did not give that impression across. I hope we can move past this and consider it water under the bridge, or under the ship in this case, since we're not really near Cornelia's Bridge anymore.
That was very mature of you. I accept your apology and think it is best to move forward to get to the next town before the video is over.
Hey everyone, I just noticed something. Why hasn't Joe said anything in a while? Joe, are you still there?
Who am I?
Joe, did you fall asleep while we were battling these enemies?
No, I have been very attentive since we are playing my favorite game, Earthbound.
This looks absolutely nothing like Earthbound, and you have messed up the game name 3 times in the span of 1 video already. I knew you weren't the best with names, walking upstairs at Air Force One, riding a bicycle, amongst many other things, but I thought you'd at least remember the name of the game we're playing.
Hey, that sounds like something I'd say instead of you, Barak.
It normally isn't, but I think I have some pent-up frustration since he pulled the same kind of thing back when he was my vice president. He'd fall asleep during our briefings, and he kept filling the freezer with half-eaten ice cream since he kept forgetting to finish the rest of it.
Hey, let's be fair to me. I've stopped forgetting to take back the ice cream after I put it in. I'm still working on the not falling asleep, though.
Frankly, it's been a miracle your character hasn't fallen asleep every other battle. But I think that's only because auto battle is usually on.
If we can stop discussing Joe's sleeping habits, we have arrived at a town where we will ironically be sleeping to restore our health after the long trek from the waters. We'll be visiting the castle and buying some new items before the video ends to prepare ourselves for the next area.
That's great. I am enjoying this game so far. It looks quite a bit better than when it came out, but the graphics really are top-notch. I look forward to the next part where we can continue and hope our loyal fans also watch to see what happens next.
I hope so too. Also, I do have to make a quick cut here to do some battles and to get enough gil for the Fira and Thundara spells. I don't think we need to see too many more battles here.
That's a good idea. You'll probably need to do it more since we don't have enough gil for every useful spell and armor in the town, but we'll just have to work with what we have. I don't think it will be as much of a problem later in the series where we'll have so much more disposable income, but for now it's all right.
And now would be a good time to get some magic spells, making Ben slightly less useless by healing us more every time a spell is cast.
I will prove myself to you one day, not because I need your approval, but to show myself what I am capable of when I use my potent casting abilities.
We all know that's not happening. Also, before anyone mentions it, no, Donald, these gravestones are not where my votes came from. I knew you would bring it up if I didn't.
I was just going to mention how the text mentioning Link was a reference to The Legend of Zelda. But now that you mention it, you probably did get a lot of votes from fictional and dead people. I'd estimate at least 1/3 or so.
I think now is a good time to segue into a better topic, the castle we will be entering. I think it would be best to check it out and see if anyone needs something before going into the cave at the far side of the continent.
Yeah, once some of us get some armor, that could be a good idea. We probably won't run into any monsters there, but since we're so close, it can't hurt to try anyway. Besides, we're pretty overleveled as it is already.
These items here are so expensive. If only there was a way to get all of my billions converted into gil, so we're able to buy everything, that would be nice. Not that we really need it, since we have a multiplier for our gil and experience from battles. but I'd always like to get the best weapons when I can.
While that can't happen, it would be strange to put in a pay-to-win feature for a game this old, so I'm glad that isn't an option. Unlike more recent releases where microtransactions are overly intrusive to the experience,
Whoa, this kid has been asleep for 5 years straight due to a curse? He's probably the only character less awake than Sleepy Joe here.
No one asked you to compare Donald. Anyway, we should get a way to defeat the person who caused that curse. Maybe that will make him wake up.
if I remember correctly, that doesn't exactly happen, but you are pretty close. We essentially have to go into a cave to get the item inside it, defeat Astos, the one who caused the curse to the kid, and then find an item to wake him up.
Hey, don't spoil the game. I want to be surprised by what happens since we'll probably get all of that done in the next video.
This game has been out almost as long as I've been alive. It's not much of a spoiler at this point.
It's all right, Ben. He will probably just forget what he heard in a couple seconds anyway. So it's fine if we tell him things.
What are you talking about me forgetting things? I don't remember forgetting about something.
Yes, Joe, not remembering something is what forgetting is, but in a desperate attempt to steer our commentary back on track before the video ends, how are you all liking the game so far?
I did say I was enjoying it earlier, though I don't know if my opinion would change by playing an earlier iteration of the game instead of this one.
I am liking it too, although since there are extras in different versions of the game, I'm a little disappointed that we won't be experiencing that, though the main game should be good enough.
That is fair criticism. I do wish those were included here, and for the remainder of the games, but in an odd way, it does incentivize going through the different iterations of these games since there's almost always something new to experience.
I will rate this game 10 out of 10 if I get to sniff the princess's hair at some point.
Thank you for ruining the ending, Joe. We really needed that extra level of creepy to finish things off.
Speaking of thanking, thank you, Ben, for joining us on this adventure. You really bring a new dynamic to the whole adventure, and would be glad to have you back on in future games as well.
Anytime, Barack. I have to go destroy liberals with facts and logic, so I'll see you all later.
Yeah, I have to go be the president again. See you next time.
This was a great session. I look forward to more.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back soon with more of Final Fantasy. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.